Because the Book of Prophecy is a book of important events which Nostradamus saw in the future, it is full of dramatic accounts of horrible events. Many of those events can be interpreted as Doomsday, which makes finding the real Doomsday extremely difficult. However, after carefully reading through the 942 quatrains, I find quatrain after quatrain with detailed descriptions of major historical events. So contrary to popular belief that there is no logic of how Nostradamus grouped his quatrains, I think I've found some patterns. Just as I showed earlier, Century 1 is a collection of major historical events, mostly wars. Well, if you read Century 2 carefully, you will find so many shocking descriptions of the Doomsday to come. It should be called the Doomsday chapter. Believe it or not, I found 20 quatrains, all with clues about the coming Doomsday. I could be wrong, and some of the quatrains can be events which happened in the past. Remember, our interpretations only reflect our views, and I am not a Nostradamus delegated spokesperson. The first Doomsday prophecy is both concerning and also relieving, but we have to jump back to Century 1. Quatrain 148, quote, "When 20 years of the moon's reign have passed, another will take up his reign for 7,000 years. When the exhausted sun takes up his cycle, then my prophecy and threats will be accomplished." It is concerning because, according to Nostradamus, the sun will be exhausted. But it is relieving because he said it will happen 7,000 years after the moon's reign. We don't have the United Nations headquarters at a moon base yet, so that must mean we have at least 7,020 years to go. Well, with technology advancing at such fast speed, I am sure humans will break time and the space barrier in the next 100 years. In that case, Doomsday Earth may no longer mean Doomsday humans. However, with the moon being the most prominent celestial body in the night sky, who can say the first reign of the Earth civilization wasn't from the moon? Sorry to tell you, with the first civilization started on Earth 8,500 years ago, we may be overdue on Doomsday. Many may point to another obvious mistake on Nostradamus' quatrain. The sun may eventually die, but it will not happen for another 5 billion years. So, 7,000? Come on, be real. Well, do you know our sun has, quote, takes up his cycle? Based on the 400 years of observation, there is a nearly periodic 11-year change in the solar cycle. This is the cycle we know. How about the ones we don't know? Of course, anyone can see the dramatic increase in sunspots over the 400 years. Just like the Yellowstone supervolcano takes a near clockwork 600,000 year cycle. Will our sun outburst with fury when it is time? We don't know, because whoever witnessed the catastrophe last time is not here to tell us. Now, I have to bring up an interesting point based on this quatrain. Have you ever thought what the word moon's reign really means? There is a theory about hollow moon. Basically, some people believe the moon is hollow and not a nature satellite of Earth. Superior beings from the moon long ago genetically created the human race. Maybe that is what the moon reign means. So, Nostradamus told us there will be a doomsday, and his prophecy would predict events up till the very end. So if we figure out all the quatrains, we can know everything till the end time, right? Well, good luck on that, especially after I decoded all the easy ones. Let's now move on to Century 2. Quatrain 203, quote, "Because of the solar heat on the sea, From Negrepont, the fishes half cooked. The inhabitants will come to cut them, when food will fail in Rhodes and Genoa. When I tried to decode this quatrain, I surfed CNN, and the headline happened to be about 20,000 dead fish in Nova Scotia. When I searched Rhodes and Genoa, those are in southern Italy, so I kept on searching. And then I found mass animals dying all over the world in 2016. Actually, according to endtimeprophecy.org, there were 547 known mass animal deaths events in 81 countries in 2016. What do you think it means? The next quatrain may be a continuation of this doomsday sign. Quatrain 204, quote, "From Monaco to near Sicily, the entire coast will remain desolated. There will remain there no suburb, city, or town, not pillaged nor robbed by the barbarians." Obviously, these two quatrains are related. Both Rhodes and Genoa are near the Mediterranean Sea. And for the last 400 some years, nothing this catastrophic has ever happened to this area. So, if it is not about the past, it must be about the future. Of course, Nostradamus can be wrong also. I don't believe this quatrain is about the past, because World War II never desolated the entire coast. So here is my bold guess. When the end time approaches, it will start near the Mediterranean Sea. One may say that already happened. On August 25th, 2016, Amatrice, an Italian town, was destroyed by a 6.2 earthquake, followed by a 6.1 nearby on October 26th, and then a 6.6 in Tronto on October 30th, 2016. This is the end to the two Italian towns. But can this also be the end time sign? The next quatrain is hard to decode. Quatrain 206, quote, "Near the gates and within two cities, there will be two scourges, the like of which was never seen. Famine within plague. People put out by steel, crying to the great immortal God for relief." Trying to find the two cities was harder than I thought. I first thought of the twin cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, but I can't find a famous gate. But after searching for hours, I think I have found it. It may mean Seoul, Korea. It has a population of 10 million. It is only 17 miles from Korea's third largest city, Incheon, which has 3 million people. And North Korea is only a breath away at 35 miles to the north. Threats from North Korea have not ceased for the last 40 years. War is a real threat. Unlike people in North Korea who live in extreme poverty, South Korea enjoys freedom and prosperity. However, did you know that on December 16th, 2016, 16 million poultry were killed in an effort to stop the avian flu? That is after the slaughtering of 62,000 birds on November 18th, 2016. I believe South Korea is doing everything possible. The only question is if it is good enough. Could that be the plague mentioned? Are Seoul and Incheon the two cities mentioned in the quatrain? I will say it is likely, unless you can find a better one. The next Doomsday quatrain is Quatrain 2:13, quote, "The body without soul no longer to be sacrificed. Day of death put for birthday. The divine spirit will make the soul happy, seeing the word in its eternity." The quatrain can be interpreted philosophically. like if we lost our souls, our lives will be meaningless. But you can also think of it as our soul can live forever even if death cannot be avoided. Kind of like a comforting words from Nostradamus. Of course, I found it very interesting that soul actually sounded the same as soul. Is it a coincidence that the two quatrains appeared one after another? Or is it my confirmation that I guessed it right? Only time will tell. Quatrain 2:18 described a different kind of doomsday. Quatrain 2:18, quote, "New, impetuous and sudden rain will suddenly halt two armies. Celestial stone, fires make the sea stony. The death of 7 by land and sea sudden." I believe this quatrain warns about a celestial stone, most likely an asteroid, because comets are snowballs, right? The impact point most likely will be at the sea, although it will be devastating just the same. I don't believe the death by 7 means 7 persons. I think it is more likely the 7 seas, or it could mean G7 or 7 countries. The sign before that event will be some sudden, impetuous rain, possibly affecting a military conflict. What will that be? I'm not sure. The next quatrain I want to discuss is Quatrain 2:27, quote, "The divine word will be struck from the sky, one who cannot proceed any further, the secret closed up with the revelation, such that they will march over and ahead." If this quatrain is true, it will not be the first time this happened. I believe Moses got divine words from the sky also. But this time, the message said, "One who cannot proceed any further." However, the last sentence said, "such that they will march over and ahead." Clearly, unlike Moses, this time our leaders did not take the warning seriously, which may be the reason for our demise. The next quatrain about the doomsday is Quatrain 2:30, quote, "One who the infernal gods of Hannibal will cause to be reborn, terror of mankind, never more horror nor worse of days. In the past then will come to the Romans through Babel." This seemed to describe the doomsday, as they call it, terror of mankind, and never more horror nor worse of days. Many people consider this to be the rise of an Islamic empire. In a way, the prophecy is already fulfilled, as Babel is Babylon, which is modern-day Iraq, and ISIS did grow like wildfire after the US-led war of Iraq in 2003. But it is not a horror we have not seen before, unless some even worse attacks will happen soon. The next quatrain is very alarming also. Quatrain 2:31, quote, "In Campania, the Quatrain River will do so much that one will see only fields covered by waters. Before and after the long rain, one will see nothing green except the tree." Campania and Quatrain both are in southern Italy, as I believe there was another warning here about the Mediterranean area. For people with a vivid imagination, you will find reading the next quatrain is like watching a doomsday movie. Quatrain 2:37, quote, "Of the great number that one will send to relieve those besieged in the fort. Plague and famine will devour them all, except 70 who will be destroyed." Imagine in a doomsday earth, people who took shelter in the bunkers are now in great need of food, medicine, and supplies. Although the one in charge tries sending help their way, plague and famine devour them all. Sadly, in the end, only 70 will be left to rebuild the Doomsday Earth. The next two quatrains should be read together. Quatrain 2:41, quote, "The great star will burn for 7 days. The cloud will cause 2 suns to appear. The big mastiff will howl all night. When the great pontiff will change country." Then in Quatrain 2:43, quote, "During the appearance of the bearded star, the 3 great princes will be made enemies. Struck from the sky, peace, earth quaking, Po, Tiber overflowing, serpent paced upon the shore." Because of the word bearded star, many people considered this the description of planet X, which is also known as Nibiru, which matches the line in Quatrain 2:41, stating the cloud will cause 2 suns to appear. According to a popular theory, Nibiru is not a planet orbiting our sun, but a planet orbiting the sun's twin star, Nemesis, a brown dwarf. When Nemesis passes by, Nibiru comes. As it approaches the Earth, the brown dwarf will be in the sky as the second sun. And that is when Doomsday comes. With flood, quakes, and all kinds of chaotic events, humans face the risk of being totally wiped out. Then the next 3 quatrains paint another gruesome picture. Quatrain 2:45, quote, "Too much the heavens weep for the androgynine begotten, near the heavens human blood shed. Because of death, too late a great people recreated. Late and soon the awaited relief comes." Then in Quatrain 2:46, quote, "After great trouble for humanity, a great one is prepared. The great movers renews the ages. Rain, blood, milk, famine, steel, and plague. Is the heavens' fire seen, a long spark running?" Then in Quatrain 2:47, quote, "The great old enemy mourning dies of poison. The sovereigns subjugated in infinite numbers. Stones raining hidden under the fleece. Through death, articles are cited in vain." Many researchers believe that the periodic doomsday is a natural filtering process, kind of like the survival of the fittest. But the quatrain seemed to state something else. It seems to say that help will come, but only too late. And the great people recreated. Does that mean we did not make it, but maybe recreated from our DNA? Following that logic, Quatrain 246 needs no explanation. Quote, "After great trouble for humanity, a great one is prepared. The great movers renews the ages." So after the doomsday, a great new, better human race is prepared. The great movers who came too late will recreate humans with renewed ages. The next quatrains, 247, describes post-doomsday world just like we see in the movies. But I was moved by the quote, "Through death, articles are cited in vain." Whatever material things we have in our lives, when we die, none of those would even matter. Don't you agree? Then in Quatrain 256, quote, "One whom neither plague nor steel know how to finish. Death on the summit of the hills truck from the sky. The abbot will die when he will see ruined those of the wreck wishing to seize the rock." Again, you have to use your imagination. This can be about the ones who survived the plague and war. Unfortunately, they can't escape the strikes from the sky. The abbot, which can mean our political or religious leader, will die when everything is in ruin. And the last surviving ones refuse to give up by making a run to seize the rock, also known as the moon. Then in Quatrain 275, quote, "On the pipe of the air vent floor, so high will be the bushel of wheat rise, that man will be eating this fellow man." I hate to share with you what I see in this quatrain. I believe the first line is about the underground sewer channel. Those are huge pipes Nostradamus did not know what to call. Doomsday survivors had to move underground to escape either solar radiation or nuclear waste. And with no access to food, man will be eating fellow man. I believe the next quatrain is to give us a precise timeline of the Doomsday. Quatrain 284, quote, "Between Campania, Siena, Florence, Tuscany, 6 months, 9 days without a drop of rain. The strange tongue in the Dalmatian land. It will overrun, devastating the entire land." I call this a sign, as the first line is about southern Italy, where the average rainfall is 8 days per month. For it to be without a drop of rain for 6 months and 9 days without rain, it will be a sign no one can miss. Although I personally could not decode the meanings, I think this is about the Doomsday. Quatrain 288, quote, "The circuit of the great ruinous deed, the 7th name of the 5th will be. Of a 3rd greater, the stranger warlike, sheep, Paris, aches will not guarantee." In Quatrain 291, quote, "At sunrise one will see a great fire, noise and light extending towards Aquilon. Within the circle death, and one will hear cries. Through steel, fire, famine, death awaiting them." Aquilon is the mythological north wind. I think it just means misery extended to the far corners of the earth. The Doomsday is not for one country, one continent. It is Doomsday for the whole human race. Quatrain 295 and 296 should be read together. Quatrain 295, quote, "The populous places will be uninhabitable. Great discord to obtain fields. Realms delivered to prudent, incapable ones. Then for the great brothers, dissension and death." I think this is one of the few Nostradamus quatrains that needs no explanation in our web search, right? Then in Quatrain 296, quote, "Burning torch will be seen in the sky at night. Near the end and beginning of the Rhone, famine steal the relief provided late. Persia turns to invade Macedonia." This one may be about Doomsday Earth, as I don't believe Persia had any conflict with Macedonia since Alexander the Great. And the late relief of famine carries a Doomsday tune. I can't say for sure. What do you think? There are a few quatrains in the latter centuries that I decided to include. Quatrain 392, quote, "The world near the last period. Saturn will come back again late. Empire transferred towards the dusky nation. The eye plucked out by the Goshawk at Nabon." Although I have no idea what the last line means, the first 3 lines are pretty self-explanatory. It is about the Doomsday. The next one in Century 9 is about the Doomsday sign. Quatrain 944, quote, "Leave Geneva, every last one of you. Saturn will be converted from gold to iron. Rapaz will exterminate all who oppose him. Before the coming, the sky will show signs. And the last Doomsday Quatrain I found is Quatrain 983, quote, Sun, 20th of Taurus, the earth will tremble very mightily. It will ruin the great theater filled. To darken and trouble air, sky, and land, then the infidel will call upon God and saints. Again, the great earthquake will be a doomsday sign. However, where can we go? This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.